What's up, family? My name is Darren Florence, voice of the streets, voice of the culture. Yes, I am a father. Believe that.
I am father.
Back against the wall, head still high, push through it all. Father am I, lead by example, but still I gotta follow. Value your seeds, let's promise them tomorrow. Forever I stand, it's never to be a bother. Forever I'm man, forever I'm father. Forever I stand, it's never to be a bother. Forever I'm man, forever I'm father.
My name is Alan Irvin, and this is I Am Father.
Well, let me ask you this right here about fatherhood. I mean, with your mom and your dad still being married, going on 60 years, how do you think that has helped you to be a better father?
Well, I mean, I think it could be a help and it could be a hindrance too. You know, a knife, a lot of times a knife cuts both ways.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah, the double-edged sword. With that being said, so for two individuals that be together for 60 years, obviously it's like life is a roller coaster. You got ups and downs. You got, you know, your good days and your bad days. And so that's the same thing that's going on in a relationship. So I done seen my parents at the best of times and the worst of times, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all grew and came through it together, and still, that's the beauty in it, that we all still here and together and still going through whatever life throws at us. Because every day you're going to have another challenge, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know, you're going to have to fight. And so your family is there to help you fight through all your good times and your bad times.
Yeah.
So that's what ultimately, like, the knowing somebody in your corner that you could go talk to, whether they can help you or not, you know what I'm saying? When they going through stuff, like, now that they're older, it's my turn to help them.
But how have you been able to add the what you learned from your father to your kids? Did you play sports coming up?
Yes, I play basketball.
Okay. And your dad was there doing your basketball games, or?
No, my dad, when I was younger, he was an administrator. You know, he worked in the department where, you know, people hire and fire on a major army base. So he had to report to the general. So he was a black man in the 70s so there's a lot of stress and pressure.
There's Redstone Arsenal.
Yes. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so my dad is originally from Columbus, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's mom, who was originally from Denver, Colorado.
I'm basically, because like my grandparents, not my parents, but my grandparents, man, they lived to be 50, they lived to be in their 90s, but they were married for over 50 some years.
So you've seen it, then you had to
I've seen it, but I wasn't able to really apply what I saw to my marriage. So what does fatherhood mean to you?
A provider, a protector, an influencer, somebody you get good advice for, information and knowledge, an educator.
Mm-hmm.
Later in my dad's life, once he retired, he became an educator and started teaching history in the local high school in Huntsville. So a coach, teach you how to move throughout the streets, through corporate America, on athletic field, or whether you play a ball, whatever. All that encompasses parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to be a part and play a role with all of that.
Right. Very important. I'm doing a coaching series now, But yeah, being a coach seemed like your dad had all of the necessary attributes to take fatherhood to another level.
When I was about 4 years old, I was born in Denver, Colorado. I spent
Okay.
most of my life in Atlanta.
Okay.
I've lived in Atlanta more years than any time, but when I was about 3 or 4 years old, my dad realized he had the GI Bill and he wanted to go get his degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We living in the picket fence house, marriage, brother and sister, the perfect American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And now he all of a sudden want to go to college. You know what I'm
You
saying?
want more.
So now I looked up and we ended up from Denver, Colorado at a young age in Huntsville, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Which he wanted to come back to the South anyway because he's originally from Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
So we back closer to my other grandparents. And so a lot of people think that since I have having both of my parents in my life that was a blessing, but in a way my dad was he was working up his way through corporate America and going to school. Yes, he's there,
Mm-hmm.
but he's busy doing all the stuff he got to do. So I'm into what I'm into, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I see him, we talk. I could depend on him for whatever, but I'm more into, I'm an extrovert.
Right.
So the stuff that he's into, I wasn't into it. So I'm out on my own, getting into the stuff I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were really supportive on the things that I was into. Like, I was into broadcasting and entertainment. My dad pulled me to the side when I was a young man. He was like, "Now, this is a very iffy industry. You really don't know how you're gonna survive and make it from a financial standpoint. But if this is what you want to do, I support you."
That's good stuff.
So I was kind of a child prodigy. I started working at a radio station when I was like 16, 17.
Mm.
And I've been working in broadcasting entertainment ever since. And so my parents really, have supported me through all that whole process. So I think the most important thing about being a father and what I learned from my parents is not presence, giving me presence, but being present.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that they there.
Right. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like, for boys though, what I found out for boys will eventually find their way.
Yeah.
But having that person like your dad to bounce things off of because he's present to support you
Right.
is very key. Now earlier you mentioned, fatherhood had and being a father had some challenges in your life.
Any human being on this earth has challenges from day to day.
Absolutely.
Again, life is a roller coaster. Sometimes you up, balling out of control. Sometimes you down in the valley and you struggling, you going through stuff.
Right.
So I've been on that roller coaster with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? I had a chance to see the good and the bad and the ugly. And with that being said, there's no perfect situation in relationships. And basically, that's what we're talking about with parents and children. That's another form of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how people interact on that relationship platform is generally how it affects your children and the parents. So everybody's being affected.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
So with that being said, it's a learning lesson to me all the way across the board.
As a father, you are away from being present. The way that you are affected is harder to resolve.
Right.
It's harder to resolve, and everybody's journey is different. That's why I got this podcast because, even though my journey is different, a lot of times I may think I'm the only one with this journey, and that's just not true.
No, yeah.
So I try to, my thing is, let's talk about it. Because if we talk about it, then we're going to get freedom. If we get freedom, somebody else going to get freedom. And if somebody else get freedom, then now we're coming together to move into a higher place that we're gonna get to anyway. I mean, statistics show that as Black fathers, we're more active in our kids' life, even though we're not in the house.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're more active in our kids' life than other
Studies
racials
show.
across the board.
Yeah, we hands on, just because if that's your child and they look like you, how could you not have hands on? But here's something I want to touch on. Like, my relationship between my children's mother and my parents is totally different. You know, my kids.
Your relationship between you and your kids is different between you and your mom and your parents.
No, my relationship between my children's mother and me is totally different between my parents. You know, how they interact. And how I was raised and how we raised our kids. It had a strong influence, but we never stayed together. So.
Were you ever married to your kid's mom?
No, we lived together maybe 7-8 years.
Okay.
So it felt like that.
Yeah.
Being said, going through the struggles of being separate and not in the same house, and discipline and the kids, and it's just a lot, It just puts a lot of extra
So when you
burden
left
on
out of the house, how old were your kids then?
My daughter was maybe 4, and my son was maybe 9, 7.
So they was pretty young.
Yeah, they were.
I know when I got divorced, my youngest was 9. Our divorce was we gonna file these papers, and a lot of courts to put them in the drawer, but they're not gonna tell us how to parent our kids.
Right.
So we agreed on that, and I think I got lucky that we were able to co-parent very well, because I didn't put her on child support, even though I have 100% custody of my boys.
See, that's the part that I haven't experienced. I've gone through the exact opposite.
I learned a lot from my dad indirectly, and he's no longer living, and man, it wasn't a whole lot he can do, but he was in and out of jail based on not paying child support. I remember going, his friends, when they used to pick him up from jail, this is the day he's going to be released, I would go with them. I'll be in that car going, picking up daddy, and I didn't look at, I think I was still young, but I didn't look at it as anything negative. What I saw is I'm going to get my dad.
Period.
That's it.
That's all. Everything else don't even matter.
Don't even matter. I'm going, and me and my dad, we gonna kick it.
Right.
He gonna do what he do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's not. I tell you, I don't know why. I tell you where it starts. It starts probably in some of these books here, where back in the Willie Lynch theory, you know what I'm saying, on how they the masters used to use the mom and the kid against the dad, used to beat them in front, and to this day they still have. I mean, they still got that mouth on them. You know what I mean? That's not holding the dad as king. And what they don't understand is they come from me. They come from man. Woman come from man. So the theory back in the day still holds true. But that's what we're about to demolish. We're about to demolish all of those through awareness. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you kind of touched on that, because if you don't know who you are, you don't really know where you're going and what you're about to do in terms of your life and your vision. And so we as Black people specifically, we created pyramids, education, civilization, cleanliness, everything that is civil was created by black people and Africans. Everything that was uncivil and uncivilized, that was not created necessarily by us. But as time moves on, I see more uncivilized situations and people. With that being said, when black people and Africans were put into slavery in the United States of America, of course they took our name, our dignity, our religion, and so much more, and they tried to break up our family in order, to keep us separate and so they can control us. And one of the things they do is they like to give the women nice jobs, and so they so-called make more money than the black people, the black men in the family, and cause conflict who's, the head of the household. But as you said, we know that we're men, and it's God, man, women, kids. That's the order in the Bible. We didn't come up with this. It was like that when I got here.
Right.
And I'm not saying that men are supposed to be in charge.
That's just the way it is.
It's a team effort because God put Adam and Eve in order over that Garden of Eden. You understand what I'm saying? And they both had to keep it. Adam couldn't do it by himself.
Absolutely.
And Eve couldn't. So if Adam needed to get over there and wash some dishes, get over there and wash some dishes.
Right.
If Eve needed to edge the edges up in the yard or whatever, this is our house.
So it goes both ways. I think just like the woman submits, the man has to equally submit because it's all one. So, a woman has a lot to add to anything. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But we have to submit to the point where we're listening, we're open, we understand her strength, we understand her value, and for the most part, I believe more men are willing to do that and be that than women.
Well, God created women in a unique way. Like men, we're givers and women are receivers. And if I give a woman some money, she gonna take that and multiply that, turn it into something. Men, we're more like builders and setting up foundations, so our energy is different. Like they receive, we give. You know what I'm saying? Just all across the board. So with that being said, I think that it's an equal team representation. I think you have to work together.
Absolutely. You definitely got to work together.
And when you're not working together, that's when everything falls apart. Relationships.
Yep.
And
working together includes agreement. Because what I found, even in marriage, in agreement, we can agree, and whatever we agree on, whether there's disagreement, you can agree to disagree. Whether there's disagreement or 100% agreement, but it moves a lot better.
It does.
It moves a lot better, and it's accomplished a lot better, opposed to when you disagree and you're not in agreement at all.
I think what the basis is. See, we're talking about love at the end of the day.
Yeah.
As a father, as a parent, I love my kids. I love my parents. You know what I'm saying? I love people, everybody that's involved in my family circle. So, with that being said, what is the base of love? God is love. What is at the base of love? Trust. See, if you're in a relationship and you can't trust the person you're in a relationship with, then that relationship is going to fall apart.
Yeah, trust is key.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're talking about at the end of the day. Our parents trusting kids, our kids trusting their parents, our parents in a relationship of trust. Because once you have trust, then there's love in the room.
Yeah.
And all that stuff comes together to make sure everybody feels comfortable. Because usually if you don't trust the situation or trust somebody,
Right.
you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's not comfortable, but that goes back to the agreement piece, right? Because if the mom and the dad agree, and the kid know that they are in agreement, they can't use that against each other. A lot of times, kids are smart.
Oh yeah,
you know
they
when
gonna
I
use it.
when I was married, one of the things that was one of the biggest issue. If I say we going this way, or he can't do this, as far as my son, he can't do this, he can't do this, don't come back around and say he can do it.
Right.
I mean, we're gonna have to go behind closed doors and agree on something, but once we come from behind them doors, he need to know there's an agreement here. You ain't gonna be able to put one against the other. So the reason I want to bring that up, because you were saying something about, we was talking about child support and how a lot of women would use that and keep the dad in jail. Have you experienced that? I've never experienced that.
Oh yeah, I've been in the system the whole time. I've had all kind of experiences like that in court, in the street, and it's a mess, man.
It's a problem, man. I mean, I really feel bad for the brothers that experienced that.
So,
I went through it with my dad, but fortunately, I've never experienced that.
So child support is worse than the IRS.
Explain that.
Well, if you owe child support, if they could come get your driver's license.
Oh yeah, man, that's a problem.
They can take your
Can't get a job.
Wages. Everything that you do financially is attached to that. And so, that's another way that the court system gives power to the mothers and the females in terms of whatever they say. It's more important for the child to be with the mother. She has more, we feel more comfortable with the children to be with the mother. But you're a proven fact that men can raise kids.
Mm-hmm.
We love our kids just as much as the mother does, and the mother is not always the best choice.
No, it's not. Statistics show that single fathers are on the rise.
I have a cousin that out in LA that he just got his daughter taken away from her, but the mother is on drugs. He acting a fool, so now my little cousin is with my aunt, his grandmother. So at the end of the day, the kids are the ones that suffer the most.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're the only ones that count. I mean, they're the only ones that count. That's why it's important for both parents to say, listen, we got to put more value on our seed.
Of course. I mean, and I'm glad that we're having these conversations about it because it needs to be dealt with. However, but we have a serious mess in the black community when it comes, because you got sexual abuse, drug abuse, and mental health issues, man, that's going on. You mix all that up with violence and just all kind of crazy stuff that's going on in these communities out here. We have a lot to clean up.
A lot of the mental health issues is really from what the kid has seen. A lot of times we can, as far as the community we're from, we can look at something and say, that's just her being her, or that's just him, or that's just the way it is. When a lot of times, man, it's really a mental health issue.
So I'm glad that we talked about that, because at the end of the day, it's a lot. Like, have you ever driven around downtown and you see people outside, might be homeless, talking to themselves?
Yeah.
You be like, yeah, man, he gone.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, even you, me, we wake up, if you're not breathing good or your chest is feeling, those are physical health issues. But sometimes mentally you're not feeling a certain way. And so everybody deals with this stuff. And a long time ago, that boy remedial, he retarded or something. But now it's something really going on, and I think that we have to address those issues in the family as parents more and more. For example, like you talked about your dad, and he would do what he do when you got together with him. Well, there was stuff that he was probably dealing with too that that you probably noticed, like, man, my dad might have an issue with this or that, or something might make him anxious if you talk about certain things. Like anxiety is an issue in black communities and parents. Depression. Sometimes you can notice that your kids are not energetic, they're not involved doing the things that they normally do. These are signs that let you know people are not feeling normal, and they need a time out. They need to be dealt with or have a conversation. And a lot of times black people don't feel comfortable talking to therapists and professional people about what's going on. But the more and more that I live on this earth, the more I realize that Houston, we got a problem.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's good that you see it the longer you live on this earth, because it can go just the opposite. And what I mean by that, you ever heard of the pain hurting and keep hurting where it feels normal?
Oh yeah. Until you become numb.
You're numb to it.
And so it's a lot of people walking around here with that numb feeling, and they got that faraway glaze in their eyes, and they're not dialed in all the way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some people say their elevator ain't going up to the top floor.
Right.
But there's some things going on inside of what they're thinking about that just has them feeling thrown off.
Right. And that's when you get someone to talk to. Because everybody, maybe your parents, won't be able to help you out of that.
Parents can't.
Because they're numb to it, perhaps.
Right.
It's a lot of different reasons why they can't help you. So you got to talk to someone.
And a lot of times, parents need to have that conversation too, because they have the issue. It's not just the kids; it's everybody dealing with these problems.
Mm-hmm.
See, black men, let me say this. I'm gonna look into the camera when I say this, because I want people to understand. Black man, it's okay for when you're not feeling yourself and you're not feeling thrown off, to go get help and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Please understand that it's okay. When I tell you that it will make you a better parent and a better person all the way around, it makes you stronger, it makes you more informed about what you're going through and how to deal with the issues and the problems that we normally deal with.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It is okay. But we don't know that. We don't know that, and we need to hear that.
I'm gonna tell you this too. It's a lot of black men hurting out here, and not talking about it. They just, a lot of times we just hold things in to the point it builds up, and then we snap and
explode.
And now it's up. Now
real problem.
We can't hold it back in. And as a black man, I'm telling you, I go through that. And I tell my kids, I'm like, let me tell you something. I'm right about here. You push me over one more edge, and we gonna have a problem. And so, and my kids know, and then they have that their points where you gotta cut it off because they didn't have enough too. Everybody has that point where you gotta stop. So it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel like you're not doing all right and ask for help. So I believe that's one of the
you got to humble yourself for that, though.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I don't know if we know how to humble ourselves at times, especially when we in a certain state ourselves, and when we're not right with ourselves, and we're going through some things. It's kind of hard to know how to humble yourself.
Well, I mean, we're in a position of leadership. So it's
Absolutely.
kind of be hard to be, as a father of a son, that we're trying to teach him how to be a man and let him know that we hurting and going through something at the same time. But I talked to my son about that. I'm like, son, when you going through something, let me know, because I'm hurting when you hurt. I'm happy when you happy. Whatever you on, that's what I'm on. So yeah, man, it's a lot. It's a lot to be a strong, but it makes you stronger to do that as opposed to play like you strong and masculine and let everything fall apart. My kids are me. So the anxiety, the stress, the happiness, everything that they feel, I already done felt it. I done been through it, You know, everything that they're going through, I've been through. And that's what makes us an authority. I didn't realize how much I love my kids until I realized how much God loved me. You understand what I'm saying? Until I had kids, I didn't realize how much God loved me. And that helped me love my kids in a certain way and helped me understand how much my parents love me. So
it makes sense. You lining back up.
Yeah. It's an order to this.
It's an order to it. Yeah.
And once you understand what that order is, then you know what your position is. And once you know what your position is, it's like sports. Do your job.
Good point.
We heard of the term mini me. But in this situation, my kids, I got them tattooed on my arm. I told them, because their mother and I wasn't always together. I'm like, y'all are always with me. And when I got with my children's mother, she had a son that was maybe 2 years old. And about 2 or 3 years later, we had my daughter. But that's my son, period. I mean, he's not my blood, but he was like 1 or 2 years old when we got together.
Yeah.
So I raised him. I'm his basketball coach. We still play basketball to this day. You know what I'm saying? Together. That's where our love is. That's where we meet, on the sports field. You know what I'm saying? Him and his dad is still around, and I'm friends with his dad. And there's mutual respect, there. So there's a lot of kids, and black kids in particular, that has more than one father and more than one support system, grandparents and everything.
Absolutely.
They want to say that we don't have as much. We have more than enough.
And that's best for the kid. That's better for the kid. He got you and his father around.
Man, he can't lose.
Can't lose, yeah.
If he never did anything successful in his life is successful already. So whatever you do from this point in this platform, I'm in total support. I got you, whether you're doing well or not, and that's for both of my kids.
So your daughter is your biological kid, and she's actually the youngest. Do you like see anxiety in her? Do you have anxiety?
Of course. My job, the type of work that I do, just being in front on the camera, in front of the microphone a lot, you're gonna go through anxious moments, depression, being an entrepreneur Negro. You understand what I'm saying? I don't work for nobody else, so I'm dependent on myself to,
You're a businessman,
yes.
Right?
So I have anxiety, depression, ups and downs with business, life in general. And so I obviously see that in my kids, and we talk about it, and we deal with it. And some days we have good days, and some days we have horrible days, just like anybody else. But the point is, I'm there when they need me.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing. I tell you, man, for me, when you mention the word anxiety or depression, I'm like, what's that? I mean, I don't think I took those terms seriously until I was probably grown and maybe even divorced.
Well, let me be clear what I'm talking about. Have you ever been in a conversation where you feel real uncomfortable, people asking you questions or talking about something that you don't like, and you just wish they would stop? That's anxious. That's anxiety. Have you ever been off to yourself where you don't want to talk to nobody and you just don't feel like going to work, getting up and doing anything?
Yeah.
That's a state of depression. Yeah, we feel it. Yes. Anxiety could be about a business deal or a game that your son is playing in. Is he gonna get this touchdown? Whatever that is, your nerves is bad and you don't feel comfortable inside yourself. And men, we don't get a chance to talk about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We don't get a chance to, women are supposed to have those so-called emotional feelings. But as men, we supposed to be strong and tough. But I'm here to tell you, I'm tough and strong to tell you that I have those feelings too.
Right, absolutely.
And if you keep bothering me, I might smack the hell out of somebody based on how I feel inside of me. And it's not about, I'm feeling anxious about something. Even my nickname carries an anxious connotation, Postman. I might snap and kill everybody in the post office, but that's where that energy came from. You know what I'm saying?
And it gets worse progressively. I mean, I've had a panic attack before.
Can't breathe.
And not knowing what that is. But it comes all of a,
You've been dealing with too much stress and anxiety and pressure. I could feel stress in my shoulders and in my body and how I breathe and whatnot. But our kids feel that too. So it's up to me to monitor that and be a good steward of their anxiety and depression and let them know about it. But how can I teach them about it if I don't know about it?
Right,
myself?
Absolutely. And it's sometimes it can be, I would assume for some parents knowing that and seeing that in their kids, they may not know how to deal with it initially to a point where, even them seeing that makes them cry.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. To a point where
you gotta deal with it.
You're gonna at that point you're gonna have to get that help, or you can humble yourself a little more and be honest, like you were saying.
Yeah, take your time and
I
go
know
slow.
how you feel. I felt the same way.
Yeah, you gotta take your time and go slow. I'm gonna tell you, sports play a big role in how I interact with my kids because sports builds confidence, relationships with people, leadership roles, interaction with other people, and I also use sports situations that teach life lessons to my kids.
Absolutely.
And
as well as to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you acting as a coach at that point.
Right. So with that being said, like a kid could have anxiety standing at a foul line about to make a free throw, or the game might be on the line. These are when depression and anxiety could come in those situations. And so you could use those situations to talk about that in order to get to other life situations in order to help.
Absolutely.
So I'm a fanatic about my kids. You did. So with that being said, I'm a coach, I'm a fan, I'm a parent, I'm a father, but I'm not your friend. Don't get it twisted. Don't ever get that twisted. You can't be your kid's friend and try to show them the right way.
Yeah, that's gonna be it's gonna be kind of hard because when it's time to get serious, you got to make sure they taking you serious, and a lot of times it's hard if you always like their best friend. But thanks for coming out, my brother.
So man, I appreciate another strong black man talking about black people and black issues. I love black people. I love where we come from in terms of Africa, America, North America, South America. It's all brown people on this earth. So I love talking about us and our power, our strengths, our ups, our downs, and we just need help across the board in general. And our kids are the future.
Absolutely.
And if we don't see about them kids, we're gonna have presidents like Donald Trump. That is an exact reason why you got to take care of your kids, because his parents did not see about him. You understand? As a child, now he grows up, he's entitled. He thinks that the world owes him everything, and that he can just do whatever he wants to do. And that's exactly what our message as black parents. No, you cannot do whatever you want to in this world. There's rules and regulations. You find what your goal is, and you're focused, and go to your destination and be prosperous. But you can't just be out here doing whatever you want to do.
No, it's rude service.